Today I want to talk about quarterback battles at Ohio State and Michigan and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about a couple of really interesting quarterback battles that are going to start this spring. One of them is in my top 5, and the other one I just couldn't put in there because it didn't feel as intriguing a couple days ago as it might today, but we'll talk about it. So let's start with this list, right? I get it. We're talking through list, and I'm better, quite honestly, when I am just going to drill down on the one topic, and I'm probably doing myself something of a disservice by doing these lists. But lists also give us an opportunity to really categorize what we think. Now, we'll rank stuff because people want to argue about rankings, and I'm not so into the numerical values associated with those as I am just trying to make sense of so much that is going on. So, the 5th team that I put here, Utah, has 4 quarterbacks that 100% could win the job. But Charlie Brewer, Cam Rising, and Jaquindon Jackson, I think, are going to be the guys that separate. Peter Costelli could be a dude, but Brewer comes in passing for damn near 10,000 yards, had an outstanding career at Baylor, especially when they got it humming right along in 2019. And then Cam Rising transfers from Texas and has bided his time. He lost the job to Bennett last year, Bentley last year, Jake Bentley. So we'll see how that goes. Jack West and Tanner McCee is wild interesting to me because Tanner McCee is coming back from a mission trip in Brazil. And he's still 6'6", and he's still enormous, and he's still a prototypical Stanford quarterback. Tennessee is interesting because Josh Heupel has really called one of the most prolific offenses of the last 2 years at Central Florida, and he's taken a lot of that with him. He's got Hendon Hooker, Brian Maurer, Harrison Bailey, and Caden Salter to choose from. I am really going to be interested to see how Harrison Bailey loses this, but Salter and Hendon Hooker, I think, have a shot here. Brian Maurer, I saw enough of him to start that I don't need to see any more. But if that dude can be rehabilitated, I'd be shocked. Haynes King, Zach Calzada, and Eli Stowers, I think, is interesting because I'm not sure that Haynes King is the heir apparent in the way that I look at a guy like Eli Stowers, and I'm going, man, if you just demonstrate that you got just a little bit of what it takes, I could see Jimbo Fisher picking him. And then at the top of the list, Ohio State. CJ Stroud, Jack Miller, Kyle McCord. 2 4-stars and a 5-star. 5-star depending on how you want to stack them up when you talk about CJ Stroud and whose rankings you want to choose. I go off of the composite. That, I think, is the one that I am most excited to watch play out. And I am loath to pick a quarterback in the spring out of Ohio State because I really want to see Ryan Day's evaluation of each one of these kiddos. He's going to pick the guy that is best for the job. And we've seen stuff on tape, right? We know that CJ Stroud feels like the leader here, but there's a reason why Jack Miller was recruited to Ohio State. And let's not forget, he committed a full 6 months before CJ Stroud, 5 months, July. And then Kyle McCord is the 5-star who's coming out of St. Joe's. He's got a kinship with Marvin Harrison Jr. He can spin it. It really looks great coming out of his hands. And I want to see him try to keep up with these two. But I'm inclined to think that it's a 2-horse race between CJ Stroud and Jack Miller. But the one that didn't make this list, that I struggled with, but that I want to talk about here with you now, is Michigan. You have Alan Bowman joining with Caden McNamara and J.J. McCarthy. And J.J. McCarthy is the highest rated quarterback recruit Jim Harbaugh has managed to sign since Andrew Luck. Dude went down to IMG Academy and he was calling basically 50% of the plays. He was really reaching out to his teammates saying, what do you guys like to run and how do you like to run it? He would point to guys on the scout team that had great ideas and they would put them into action. He is a natural born leader, but so too is Alan Bowman, who when he was healthy at Texas Tech was really out there slinging it in a way that I thought perhaps he was going to be the guy coming back. Now, nothing like a collapsed lung to set you back. And hopefully that's all worked out and he's ready to compete. because the other guy, Cade McNamara, is the only guy that was here last season, and he usurped Joe Milton in such a way that Joe Milton goes into the transfer portal, a guy that many people compared to Cam Newton. I look at Cade McNamara, and I see the kind of guy that Jim Harbaugh wants. He is a physical gamer type. He is a tough guy. He also was the quarterback for what I thought was one of the coolest and most entertaining games of 2020, Rutgers versus Michigan. Now, do you want to go into triple overtime against Rutgers as the University of Michigan? No. But 2 months ago, everybody in Michigan was ready to watch Jim Harbaugh walk out the door. And then Ward Manuel went and won the contract negotiations. And we're here where he has reshuffled his entire offensive staff. He fired Don Brown. He's brought in Mike McDonald. We know that they've gone younger. They're recruiting heavier. I think that there's something here because Jim Harbaugh has a great track record of also putting guys in the NFL, but he just hasn't had a quarterback that can get them over the top, whether it be Wilton Spates or Shea Patterson or even Milton or McNamara today. But in this RPO run offense, it's going to be a little bit of a switch for Alan Bowman, who comes more from a air raid concept, but it's nothing that I think he can't, make work. I think J.J. McCarthy's got a real shot here. And if J.J. McCarthy is a starting quarterback, if Brock Heward is able to, Sam Heward, Brock's uncle, if Sam Heward is able to win the starting job at Washington, we could see two outstanding blue chip quarterbacks facing each other at the Big House in September. And then knowing that you have quarterback battles going on at Ohio State and Michigan, I think it's even more interesting because no, they're not on the same, really, they're in the same division by name only, but they're worlds apart. You can probably talk yourself into, if you're a Michigan fan, catching them. Now, the difference here is Ohio State has a list of guys that I can just name, right, that I know can play. Thayer Mumford, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. Travion Henderson is going to be a dynamo freshman. Don't forget about Evan Pryor. Julian Fleming was the number one player at wide receiver in 2020. Added that what Jamison Williams was able to do. Jackson Smith and Jigma. And then you go to the other side of the ball. Haskell Garrett is known. Latham Ransom, I think, is coming on. Josh Proctor's going to hold it down at center field. They have dudes, right? I don't know that you got dudes at Michigan. However, you know that Ohio State and Michigan are going to be two of the teams that we talk about here because the fan bases are so large. We ain't going to give a whole lot of space here to North Texas, no disrespect. But the reason that I talk about those teams, the same reasons that I talk about Oklahoma, the same reasons that I talk about Florida, LSU, Alabama, Georgia, is because people will show up to hear about those teams, but also those teams are usually playing for national championships. Now, I'm the guy that is stumping for group of 5 teams, but I'm also the guy who understands that group of 5 team has to go undefeated. They have to have luck in playing a Power 5 team that matters. And then they still might get pushed out. Take a look at what Coastal Carolina was able to do, right? They beat Kansas. They beat BYU. They get a berth to the Cure Bowl. Now, they lose that, but you get the point there, right? If Louisiana hadn't beat up on Iowa State, we probably don't even talk about Coastal Carolina in that way because they beat Louisiana, who beat Iowa State, who played in the Big 12 championship game, and who won a Fiesta Bowl. But the quarterback battle that is going on at Ohio State, at Tennessee, at Michigan, at Utah, all of the country, at Texas A&M, is always going to get our interest because quarterback is the most important position on a football field. Full stop. So knowing that we have quarterback battles of a sort at two of the largest blue bloods in the country, at two of the pristine Big Ten programs of all time, I'm enthusiastic about that. I don't know who is going to win either the Ohio State or Michigan battles, but I would hedge toward C.J. Stroud, just like most people at Ohio State, and I would hedge toward, believe it or not, J.J. McCarthy at Michigan. I think you would love to go with a kid that gives you much upside, especially if he is able to prove he can duel with Cade McNamara and Alan Bowman. All right, that is it for me. Deuces.